Today I am replacing the driver's door latch on my 2012 Toyota RAV4. Basically, with the key or with the lock and lock button, when I hit lock and unlock, you can see my other three doors work, but my driver's door is doing nothing. There's a part called the lock actuator that is part of this latch right here, and it's got a motor inside it to lock and unlock, and they go bad. It started working intermittently and then stopped working altogether. I can still lock and unlock it with the key, but it's a bit annoying, so I'm going to replace it. First thing I need to do is to take the door panel off. It is January and pretty frigid. With these plastic panels, when plastic's cold, it can snap and break, so I've been driving my car most of the day. It's warmed up. It's a better time to try and work on these things. There are several screws that hold the door panel in place and covers covering those screws. So first we've got to pop off the covers. You can use a butter knife, a flathead screwdriver, anything to wedge behind these and just pop the clips. Probably helps if the door is open. There you go. There's not a screw behind this, but it helps to lift up the door panel to pop it off. Then let's take the key out so it doesn't drive me insane. There is a little cover behind here. You can see one Phillips screw there, and then this door handle piece pops out. And then you can see a Phillips screw here and here. You might have to use a magnet to get these screws out of their slots. Pay attention, of course. These two screws go in the door handle. This little swivel screw goes behind this handle. You don't want to put any hardware back in the wrong place. Once you have those screws out, we've got to pop these plastic clips that hold the door panel to the door. You can see these clips a little better once we've got the panel popped off, but they go all the way around the door. Once you have the door panel completely loose, like this from the clips, you want to pop it up and slide it off this rail. Then we're going to disconnect these switches. So before you disconnect, roll the window up because you want the window up to replace the latch. It's just kind of got a little lip here that it goes across. Sweet. So the handle actually just kind of clips into the door and we don't have to disconnect these rods yet. And then we want to unplug this master window switch. This connector for the master window switch has a little push down tab holding it in place. Mine was a little jammed in there, but if you press this guy, if you need to get a little screwdriver here and then you can slide it out. This connector is going into the latch that we're replacing. It's also has a push down tab release. Unplug that guy. Once you get the door panel off, we're gonna need to peel back this protective plastic covering. Normally I just take a razor and slice it so that I can re-stick it back in place when I'm done. Now we can have access to get in to this latch we're replacing. Just got 3 Torx screws holding it in place, and I'm pretty sure we've got to take this window guide out of the way because I think it's blocking removing it too. So that would just be this 10mm. Let's give it a shot. can see the rubber window guide is inside this metal part. So when we go back together, I'm gonna make sure that that guide goes in place so that my window stays on track. But you're basically just pulling this piece out of the way so that you can remove the latch. Next, I'll remove these 3 outer screws. These are T30s for Torx. Then the latch should drop in and I should be able to swap the cables over to the new one. So this part is a little bit tricky to see, but where the key goes into the outer door handle, there's this rod that goes into the back of the door latch. So when you're removing the latch, you kind of, sorry, I don't have enough hands for this, need to spin it so that it will come off of that rod. And you should be able to wiggle it out. So that rod that I'm talking about goes into the back of the latch here. And then there's also one that goes down into this little white grommet. This is basically lock and unlock. So when you put the new latch in, you need to make sure that both of these rods are in place before you screw it down. Then, before I pull the old one out, I've got to get these cables out. This blue one in the back has a little cover that you've got to pry back, and then you can wiggle this cable out and swap it to the new one. This guy just has a little plastic bracket that you can stick a screwdriver behind to work it loose. You can see it's got kind of a little hook on the end. You just wedge it into that little hole and then line the glue part up in there, and you can shut the door. Swap the yellow one over. So this one I popped out of the clips, and then you gotta kind of turn it sideways so that it'll get out of this part. Line it up with this hole. Pop it into the new one. So I've got both the cables swapped. Now I'm going to try and wedge it up in that door and make sure that both the rods are in place. I usually try and test my new parts out before I put them back in. Basically, I'm trying the lock and the door lock and seeing that that's working. And also, when I unlatch it, it's unlatched. Here's a better view of that silver rod that's hanging down from the outer door handle. This guy's got to go down through that white plastic grommet. Alright, so this thing is kind of a huge pain in the butt. Sorry I can't get a better vision of it, but line this rod up first through the grommet, and then you kind of gotta, with one hand holding the rod and one hand wedging the lock, make sure that this rod goes into that hole on the top that looks like it has a plastic Phillips. So basically that rod is going in this hole right here, and you can see there's kind of a cutout here so that you can like wedge it sideways. You'll feel when you have it in the right place. I've got it lined up, I've got the bolts started, and I just want to make sure, because this is what that rod is doing. You can hear it's working. So I'm going to tighten down these bolts, plug in my door latch, and then before I put the door panel on, I'm going to test it out. So if I lock the door with the key manually outside with the door handle and then press unlock, I can hear my actuator actually doing its job. So before I put the door panel back on, I've got to put that window guide back in, but then once I get the panel back on, it should be working. Make sure that you slide this rubber window guide into the metal guide before you go back together, because this is basically what your glass is going down. You don't want to have rattles when you're done with the job. There's a little lip inside the window guide. There's a lip on the bottom piece you're putting in that slides into the upper guide. You'll know when you've got it in place because this screw hole will line up correctly. Let's see. Press your plastic coating back into place. And we're ready to hook up the door panel. Plug this master switch connector back in, make sure it's secure. Should be all the way almost flush with the actual switch. Then, before I put anything back together, see if it works. Voila! So basically I'm just pressing my lock and unlock switch. You can see the new actuator is working. So I always like to test everything out before I put the whole door panel back on and screw it on, but it looks like we are good. So now we will pop the clips back in on the door panel and screw everything tight. Double check the window, make sure the guide isn't smooth, and that should be it. This door handle part, basically it's got these round little knobs, one on the top and the bottom, that are supposed to go here. It's just plastic clips that slides into place, like so. This guy up here, this clipped into place. Now with everything plugged in, we can hang our door panel. Have it hung over the lip, then I peek on this side to make sure that all my clips are lined up with the holes before popping them into place. Put the screw back in, put the 2 screws back in the door handle, put the covers back on, and you're done. Last check. Window rolls smoothly up and down, so guide is back where it needed to go. So sometimes people ask me where I get my parts from. I got this door latch off of Amazon for about 43 bucks. I know Toyota parts are probably better, but this latch was $250 at the dealership, and this one off of Amazon has a year warranty, so I'm gonna start with this one. Amazon, $42.99.